Nice gear, sweetheart. Matching it with your lipstick, too? They laughed when she showed up in pink tactical armor. They mocked her for volunteering, but they stopped laughing when she dropped their top marksman in 4 seconds. No weapon drawn. What didn't they know? The gear mapped blind spots, predicted movement, and recorded every insult, tagged and sent to command. She wasn't there to make friends. She dismantled their drills and flipped the playbook on day one. She came to expose a traitor, save a nation, and leave a blood-red orchid behind. This is the story of Layla Mendez. You're watching Veteran Biker. Tell us where you're watching from and drop a comment below. Hit that subscribe button. It's time. They called her Tactical Barbie before she'd even opened her mouth. Not in jest, not in admiration. It was the kind of nickname that stuck like blood on desert boots, dismissive, sharp, designed to wound. The first whisper came from Sergeant Maddox as Layla stepped off the armored transport and onto the scorched tarmac of Camp Pendleton. "Check it out," he smirked, nudging the guy beside him. Real-life Barbie came dressed for a dollhouse firefight. She heard it. She always heard it. That was the point. The sun was merciless overhead, baking through even the reinforced plates of her rose-pink gear. But Layla didn't flinch. Her helmet, tinted like polished copper, reflected their stares without revealing hers. Her movements were quiet, precise, measured like a bomb tech's breath. 10 paces behind her, Captain Evelyn Tran watched with arms folded and an unreadable expression. The rest of the SEAL candidates, mostly men, some already seasoned in combat, stood in formation. None had expected her. Certainly no one expected her to lead. "Lieutenant Mendez, you're late," Tran said, not raising her voice. She didn't need to. Layla didn't respond with words. She raised her hand, displayed her mission chip, time-stamped, verified, and logged. Tran took it, slotted it into the holotab, arrived 31 seconds early. Tran's mouth twitched, then straightened. "Dismissed, Lieutenant. You're in Class Echo 9. A murmur rippled across the lineup. Echo 9 wasn't just another rotation. It was a ghost slot, reserved for off-book testing. No one got into Echo 9 unless someone up top wanted to watch you closely or bury you quietly. Sergeant Maddox leaned toward the guy beside him again. "Bet she cries before chow." Layla walked past him without blinking. By noon, the air was molten. The range blistered with heat. Targets shimmered in the distance, metal torsos painted with thermal reactive plates. The drill, speed, precision, endurance. Each recruit had 60 seconds to neutralize 15 hostiles while crossing uneven terrain. One by one, they ran it. Most scored between 9 and 12. The highest, Rourke, a compact wall of muscle with sniper's nerves, cleared 14 and beat the clock by 2 seconds. Then it was her turn. "Lieutenant Mendez," Tran called. "Gear check complete?" "Complete," Layla said. Her voice was steady, unhurried. Rourke muttered under his breath, "She's gonna trip over her own eyeliner." The timer beeped. Layla moved, not sprinting, flowing, like a system of gears, perfectly timed. Her suit adjusted micro-calibrations with every step, redistributing weight, compensating for slope, wind, and micro-tremors. First shot, center mass, moving target, 50 meters. Headshot, second, double tap, 30 degrees west. Both clean. Third, blind angle behind a shattered barrier. She didn't hesitate. The clicks from her smart rifle were minimal, barely above a whisper, but the screen behind the firing range lit up like a live feed. 15 targets, 15 hits. Time left 14 seconds. Silence, then someone said it, not mockingly. "Holy shit." Layla exhaled. She'd hit all 15, and she hadn't even broken stride. After he drills, Tran pulls her aside. "I read your override protocol," the captain said, "but it's one thing to code, another to fight." "Agreed," Layla replied. "I've never believed in proving myself through words." Tran paused, her gaze measuring. "You think you're ready?" Layla's answer was calm. "I didn't come to be ready. I came to be used." That night, the camp mess hall buzzed with everything but her name. No one approached her table. No one sat within 3 chairs. But she didn't eat in silence. She played back the encrypted recording her gear had made, every insult, every mockery, every name and face, and she smiled. Tomorrow, Echo 9 will start its real training. And Tactical Barbie? She was done listening. She was ready to hunt. The first crack in the armor did not come from enemy fire or battlefield chaos. It was subtle, silent, and hidden deep within the network that connected the most elite operators at Camp Pendleton. Just 48 hours after the rigorous training began in Echo 9, an unauthorized relay began siphoning critical data through a covert channel. The system anomaly was faint, a whisper of irregularity almost lost in the flood of routine diagnostics. But Layla's customized gear detected it instantly. It was 0346 hours when her suit's subroutine picked up the anomaly, a data packet not meant for her eyes but impossible to ignore. The code quietly observed, storing every byte without triggering alarms. Layla was not surprised. This was not a simple glitch or accident. It was a sign of deeper corruption. Someone within the ranks was sending information out. Someone trusted, someone close. The next morning was dry and merciless, the sun roasting the northern ridge of Sector D where the team gathered. Layla lowered her visor, the heat shimmering in the distance, blurring the canyon edges. The mission: simulate a high-risk extraction of a compromised informant trapped behind enemy lines. 4 squads spread out methodically, each responsible for securing a quadrant. Maddox led Alpha, Rourke held Bravo, and Layla was assigned to Overwatch, a polite way to keep her distant and out of direct action. From her elevated position, Layla scanned frequencies and monitored movement patterns. Her heads-up display revealed 3 icons blinking out of sync. One squad was transmitting an outdated beacon, a signal that should have been removed weeks prior. That was no mistake. It was deliberate, a weak point exploited. She isolated the packet on her wrist pad, revealing a handshake protocol attempting to connect to an off-base encrypted node. The signal was outbound, trying to breach their defenses. Without hesitation, she rerouted the transmission mid-air, siphoning its payload before it could bounce off. She layered encryption over the hijacked signal, trapping it in a virtual cage. Her fingers moved with practiced ease, a silent war unfolding in the digital shadows while live fire exercises erupted below. Rubber bullets cracked and flashbangs flashed in timed intervals, but something was off. The team had sprung their trap too soon. Maddox's squad, meant to hold the line, triggered an alarm before the informant was located. Through her scope, Layla caught a flicker of a flare thrown 2 seconds before the breach. The thrower was not Maddox, but Delaney, a quiet, unassuming operator with impeccable records. A duplicate of Delaney's ID code had just been used to route the outbound transmission. This was no bug or oversight. It was a betrayal. Layla silently locked the compromised stream, tagging it as Ghost Protocol Level 2, a designation for internal security breaches warranting immediate escalation. She did not confront Delaney directly. That was not her role. Instead, she watched him during the debrief, noting the fatigue in his eyes. He did not look like a guilty man, but one waiting for judgment. That night, Layla's gear scanned relentlessly. She cross-referenced communications logs with breathing patterns and reaction times. The spikes in Delaney's heart rate were minimal, but they aligned perfectly with moments of suspicion, most notably when Rourke joked about turncoats with clean boots. By 0200 hours, the pieces aligned. The signal originated from a narrowband transceiver concealed within one of the drone lockers, access limited to just 6 operators. Delaney was one of them. She bypassed standard reporting channels and escalated the issue through a dormant override line that linked directly to someone above Captain Tran, an authority empowered to authorize a black flag operation. Minutes later, the response arrived. Hold. Layla understood immediately. The goal was not just to stop the leak, but to trace its source quietly, without alerting the suspect. She erased her digital footprints, restructured her logs, and maintained a facade of normalcy. The following day, Delaney approached her in the mess hall. It was the first time anyone had sat beside her. "Didn't think you'd still be around after the Ridge incident," he said softly. Layla met his gaze calmly. "Neither did I," he hesitated. "Some of the guys think you're watching them." She smiled thinly. "Should they be worried?" Delaney forced a laugh. "Depends who you ask." They ate in silence, the tension palpable, yet Layla's system recorded every detail, micro-expressions, vocal inflections, subtle cues. He was unraveling, spiraling. 3 hours later, during the drone swarm exercise, Delaney's drone crashed into the perimeter fence, overloading communications for 12 seconds. It was just enough time for a second handshake to slip through. This time, Layla let it pass. The transmission bounced through 6 decoy nodes, shells she had pre-programmed with synthetic data. The leak believed it was gathering classified intel, but what it received was a digital fingerprint, traced, logged, and sent directly to the Office of Strategic Containment. At dusk, the team regrouped. Layla was already connected to an off-grid channel when a terse message arrived. "Proceed to isolate the carrier." She sealed the communication, her gloves hissing softly as they locked. Walking toward Delaney's tent, her steps measured, deliberate. She wanted him to see her coming and wonder what she planned. But the tent was empty. Only a warm data core remained. On top, a note, "We were never the only ones watching." Layla stood frozen for 6 seconds before tapping into Echo 9's internal network. Delaney's tag was gone. Not just disabled, erased. The desert winds whispered secrets, but in the heart of Echo 9, silence screamed. Layla stood alone in the compound's control room, the faint hum of active systems filling the void where Delaney's presence had vanished. His disappearance was not a simple act of desertion. It was an erasure, a surgical removal from the network and from their lives. The question echoed relentlessly, who else was watching? Her custom gear adapted to the dimmed emergency lights, rose-pink accents shifting to blend with the cold steel surroundings. Every sensor, every chip, every thread embedded in her tactical suit was a piece in a complex puzzle, a puzzle that just became infinitely more dangerous. The betrayal was deeper than she had feared, and the scope was larger than any single traitor. Layla's mind raced through the implications. Delaney was just a pawn, a signal flaring before the real firestorm ignited. The data core's warmth meant he had been here recently, possibly leaving a back door or a trap. She accessed the terminal, fingers dancing over encrypted keys. Layer after layer peeled away to reveal a hidden file marked with a blood-red orchid symbol, the signature of a covert faction known only in whispers, the Silent Bloom. She paused, breath shallow. The Silent Bloom was a ghost network. Operatives who used code names, dead drops, and digital shadows to manipulate operations from within. They didn't just leak information, they reshaped realities, turned allies against one another, and orchestrated disasters like chess masters playing a game centuries in the making. Her training kicked in. She initiated a full protocol sweep of Echo 9, cross-referencing system logs with biometric data. The results were chilling. Several high-ranking operators exhibited subtle anomalies, discrepancies in communication patterns, unexplained absences, and irregular access to secure channels. Among them was someone she knew well, Captain Evelyn Tran. Her lips tightened. Trust was fragile. And with Tran involved, the stakes escalated beyond anything Layla had anticipated. She had to move carefully, gather irrefutable evidence before making a move. That night, Layla retreated to her quarters. The hum of the bass faded behind closed doors, replaced by the steady rhythm of her breathing and the glow of her holographic interface. Maps of operational sectors floated mid-air as she plotted movements, potential leak points, and escape routes. Her gear's neural link pulsed softly, a reminder of the mission's urgency. Suddenly, a chime alerted her. An encrypted message blinked into existence. The sender was unknown, the signature obscured by layers of false flags. The message was simple yet loaded. Watch the blossom, roots run deep. Her heart quickened. The warning was clear. The silent bloom was no longer a shadowy myth. It was a present danger growing in the heart of her team. The following day brought chaos disguised as routine. Training exercises accelerated, tension thickening with every command. Layla observed the others with hawk eyes, noting every glance, every hesitation. Trust was currency, and it was being spent recklessly. At midday, Captain Tran summoned Layla to a private meeting. The office was sterile, cold, a stark contrast to the fiery accusations hidden beneath the surface. "Lieutenant Mendez," Tran began, voice steady but eyes unreadable, "we're under scrutiny. Your recent reports have triggered internal investigations." Layla held her ground. "I'm here to protect the unit, Captain, but I need clarity. Who do we trust?" Tran's smile was thin, almost sorrowful. "Trust is a luxury we can't afford. Not anymore." As Layla left, she felt the weight of isolation pressing down. Allies were shadows and enemies could be anyone. Back in her quarters, she initiated a covert scan of Tran's digital footprint. Patterns emerged: late-night communications, encrypted exchanges with unknown operatives. It was enough to raise alarms, but not enough to act. Suddenly, her system flagged a breach. The door to her room hissed and clicked, unlocked remotely. Someone was inside. Layla reached for her sidearm, but the intruder was already there. A figure cloaked in tactical black, face hidden behind a mask. A moment stretched between them, tension crackling like static. Without warning, the figure lunged. Layla rolled, drawing her weapon in one fluid motion. Shots echoed, ricocheting off the walls. The fight was swift, brutal, a deadly dance in the dim light. In the chaos, the intruder slipped a data chip into her palm before disappearing into the shadows. Layla's fingers closed around the device, heart pounding. It was a message, an invitation or a warning from the silent bloom itself. Her path was clear. The fight was no longer just for survival. It was for the soul of Echo-9. The early dawn cast pale light over Camp Pendleton's training grounds, the sharp edges of metal and concrete softened by the mist settling into the valleys. But within the fortified walls of Echo-9, the atmosphere was anything but calm. A storm brewed, one born not from the desert sands but from the fractured loyalties tearing at the unit's core. Layla sat alone in the dimly lit common area, the data chip clenched tightly in her palm. It felt heavy, not because of its physical weight, but for the burden it symbolized. This was no ordinary message. It was a challenge, a gauntlet thrown by an enemy hidden in plain sight. Her mind raced as she replayed the violent encounter from the previous night. The intruder's skill was unmistakable, professional, precise, and merciless. Someone trained to kill without hesitation, but with enough control to leave behind a cryptic token instead of an execution. That someone wanted her to know they were watching. They wanted to provoke a response. Layla's training kicked in. She initiated a full security lockdown of her quarters, sealing all access points with biometric confirmation protocols. The data chip glowed faintly with encrypted signals, layers of code designed to self-destruct if tampered with improperly. She connected it to her wrist terminal, fingers moving deftly through the decryption sequences. The screen flickered to life, revealing a series of images and messages. There were no words, only a visual montage: a blooming orchid, petals drenched in blood, The Echo 9 insignia fractured into shards, shadowed figures exchanging clandestine handshakes, and finally a symbol she recognized, an emblem of a forgotten unit disbanded years ago for alleged treason. Layla's breath caught. The silent bloom was not a new threat. It was a ghost from the past, resurrected and reshaped for modern warfare. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden presence of Captain Evelyn Tran. The door to the common area slid open with a hiss, and Tran stepped inside, expression unreadable but eyes burning with urgency. "Lieutenant," Tran began, voice low and steady, "we need to talk. Privately." Layla nodded, pocketing the data chip and following the captain through a labyrinth of corridors toward the command center. Inside the secured room, the atmosphere was tense. Screens displayed live feeds of training exercises, troop movements, and encrypted communications. But the real focus was the palpable tension between two women who had once shared a mutual respect, now strained by suspicion and necessity. Tran wasted no time. "Your findings on the leak were accurate. We have multiple points of compromise, and worse, there is evidence suggesting that elements within our own command structure may be involved." Layla met her gaze evenly. "How deep does this go?" "Deeper than we feared," Tran replied, pacing slowly. "The Silent Bloom operates as a decentralized network, but it has tentacles reaching into various levels of command. We suspect that some of our most trusted officers may be compromised." Layla's jaw tightened. "And you're telling me you don't know who?" "Not yet," Tran admitted, "but the situation demands caution. Public accusations could cripple morale and leave us vulnerable." They both understood the paradox. Trust was both their greatest asset and most dangerous vulnerability. Tran continued, "We've initiated covert surveillance on several suspects, but the network is sophisticated. They communicate using layers of encryption, dead drops, and code words. It's like fighting shadows." Layla felt a surge of determination. "Then we fight fire with fire," Tran nodded. "Which is why you need to be careful. Your recent confrontation with Delaney and the intruder's message have put you in the spotlight. If the Silent Bloom wants you neutralized, they will try." Layla swallowed the unease settling in her chest. She was no stranger to danger, but the enemy within was always the hardest to fight. "Have you informed Admiral Clark?" Layla asked. Tran shook her head. "Not yet. This is sensitive. Only a handful of people know the full scope. We're moving quietly." The gravity of their position pressed down on Layla. She realized that the war was no longer just physical. It was a battle for truth, loyalty, and survival. Leaving the command center, Layla felt eyes on her from the shadows, silent judgments and whispered fears trailing her every step. Back in her quarters, she began compiling a list of trusted allies, those who had proven themselves reliable in the crucible of combat and could be counted on when the walls closed in. Among them was Rourke, the stoic sniper who had silently observed her progress, and Lieutenant James Whitman, the communications officer with a reputation for unshakable integrity. But even as she reached out, Layla knew the reality. None of them were immune to doubt or betrayal. Her gear's interface pinged softly, a secure message from an unknown sender. The words were simple but chilling. "The blossom wilts before the frost. Watch your back." The threat was clear. The Silent Bloom was closing in. Over the next several days, training intensified. Exercises became simulations of paranoia. Each movement scrutinized, each signal intercepted. The camaraderie that once defined Echo 9 was replaced by tension and suspicion. Layla endured whispered accusations and sideways glances. The nickname Tactical Barbie was now laced with a new meaning, equal parts admiration and fear. During a high-stakes live-fire exercise, Layla was paired with Rourke. As they navigated the rugged terrain, she confided in him her concerns. "There's something rotten in the core," she said quietly. "I don't know who to trust." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Then we trust each other. That's all we have." Their alliance forged in the fire of mutual respect, they began working together to uncover anomalies in communications and troop behavior. One evening, as they reviewed encrypted transmissions in a secluded room, a coded phrase caught Layla's attention. A subtle signal used by the Silent Bloom operatives to identify each other. It was a breakthrough, but it also meant the enemy was closer than ever. The following night, Layla's quarters were breached again. This time, she was ready. She waited in the shadows, weapons drawn, senses sharp. When the intruders stepped into the room, a tense standoff ensued. But instead of attacking, the figure removed their mask. It was Lieutenant Whitman. "I'm with you," he whispered. "But this is bigger than any of us." Together they formed a fragile alliance, vowing to root out the traitors and dismantle the Silent Bloom before it was too late. Yet, as the days passed, Layla realized that the deeper they dug, the more dangerous the truth became. Every revelation threatened to fracture the fragile bonds holding their team together. The war within Echo 9 was only just beginning. The first tendrils of dawn crept into the room as Layla sat motionless, eyes scanning the encrypted data flowing across her wrist terminal. The revelation that Lieutenant Whitman was an ally brought both relief and a cold wave of dread. The Silent Bloom was not merely a faction hiding in shadows. It was a cancer eating away at their very foundation. And now, with trust so fragile, every step forward risked igniting a chain reaction that could consume them all. Layla and Whitman worked tirelessly through the night, piecing together fragments of intercepted communications and logs of suspicious activity. They had identified 3 additional suspects, each with access to critical command protocols and encrypted channels. The challenge was greater than they'd anticipated. The web of deceit was tangled and sprawling, with players hidden behind layers of misdirection. Their next move was a covert surveillance operation targeting the suspected operatives. Utilizing drone feeds, cyber tracking, and human intelligence, they monitored every interaction and exchange. The tension in the unit grew palpable as subtle accusations and mistrust flourished beneath the surface. Echo 9 was no longer a team, it was a powder keg. During a tactical exercise simulating a hostage rescue in urban terrain, the true test of loyalty came to a head. Orders were delayed, communications jammed, and key personnel went missing. The chaos played into the Silent Bloom's hands, revealing fissures in the team's cohesion. Layla confronted Captain Tran in a closed-door meeting, demanding answers. Tran's composure cracked, revealing a glimpse of the turmoil beneath her disciplined exterior. The captain confessed that she had been under immense pressure from higher command, forced to make compromises she could barely reconcile. The lines between right and wrong blurred as betrayals multiplied. Some operatives revealed themselves as double agents, their allegiances shifting like desert sands. Others suffered under the weight of impossible choices, caught between duty and survival. Layla found herself isolated, yet resolute. With Whitman by her side, she orchestrated a risky plan to expose the Silent Bloom's leadership. It involved hacking into the deepest layers of the network, planting digital traps and orchestrating a live sting during the next field operation. The operation was fraught with peril. The team moved through simulated combat zones with heightened alertness, every shadow a potential threat. When the moment arrived, encrypted messages flowed like blood through the veins of the system, leading traitors into the trap. The sting was successful, but the cost was high. Lives were lost, trust was shattered irrevocably. The aftermath left Echo 9 fractured and vulnerable. As Layla surveyed the wreckage of what was once a tight-knit unit, she understood that the fight was far from over. The Silent Bloom had been exposed, but its roots were deep, and the war for the soul of their command had only just begun. The echo of gunfire still lingered in the corridors of Echo 9. But it was the silence afterward that screamed the loudest. The sting operation had ripped the team apart, exposing traitors, sowing chaos, and leaving scars that would not heal with time. Layla Mendez stood amid the rubble of trust, her heart pounding with the weight of what had been lost and the daunting path ahead. The aftermath was a cruel paradox. Victory came at a price. The Silent Bloom's core had been shattered, yet their roots stretched further than anyone dared admit. The betrayal wasn't just tactical, it was personal. It had wormed into the very fabric of their lives, their history, their identities. She replayed the moments that had brought them here, the whispers, the coded signals, the fleeting glances filled with suspicion. The once vibrant unit was now a husk of fractured loyalties and wounded pride. Faces that had once smiled in camaraderie now wore masks of guarded mistrust. Layla's gaze fell on the broken shards of a shattered orchid pin, a symbol that had meant unity but now represented fracture. The blood-red petals were a chilling reminder that even beauty could be weaponized and poisoned. Captain Tran was in command, but even she was not immune to the storm. Her usual steel composure was tempered by exhaustion and the burden of impossible choices. She called a meeting in the command center, assembling what remained of the team, a collection of soldiers and specialists marked by loss, doubt, and resolve. Echo 9, Tran began, voice steady despite the tension. We have suffered a breach that cuts to the core, but our mission remains. We must rebuild, reorganize, and reclaim what was lost. Layla stepped forward, her voice carrying the calm authority forged in countless battles. The Silent Bloom is more than an enemy. It is a disease, and we must root it out completely. The room fell silent. Eyes met hers, searching for hope amid the chaos. Some found it, others saw only the weight of a war that had just begun. The next days were a whirlwind of activity. Investigations deepened, new security protocols were enforced, and alliances were tested. Layla worked closely with Whitman and Rourke, their bond strengthening as they navigated the treacherous waters of deception and loyalty. They discovered that the Silent Bloom had infiltrated not only Echo 9, but several key operations across the military. Its network was vast, its influence subtle but deadly. Layla's gear was upgraded with the latest stealth technology and advanced neural interfaces, allowing her to operate deeper in hostile digital and physical environments. The rose-pink accents that once drew ridicule had become a badge of lethal innovation, a tactical advantage that blurred the line between visibility and invisibility. One evening, Layla received an encrypted message from an unknown sender. The words were simple, yet loaded with meaning. The garden is poisoned. Only the true orchid can survive. It was a call to arms, a warning and a promise. In the weeks that followed, the team conducted a series of covert operations designed to dismantle the Silent Bloom's infrastructure. These missions tested every ounce of their skill and willpower, infiltrating enemy strongholds, intercepting communications, and turning traitors against one another. Layla's leadership was instrumental. Her tactical genius, combined with her unwavering determination, inspired those around her to fight not just for survival, but for redemption. Yet, the deeper they delved, the more the lines between friend and foe blurred. The Silent Bloom's reach extended into places they had never suspected. Allies who had betrayed them, operations compromised at the highest levels, and a conspiracy that threatened to unravel the very foundations of their cause. One mission in particular stood out. Layla, Whitman, and Rourke were tasked with extracting a high-value asset who held the key to exposing the Silent Bloom's leadership. The operation was a delicate balance of precision and risk. Under the cover of darkness, they infiltrated a fortified compound nestled deep within hostile territory. Every step was fraught with danger, every shadow a potential threat. The extraction was complicated by a sudden ambush. The enemy was waiting. The Silent Bloom had anticipated their move. Gunfire erupted in bursts of violence. Layla's movements were fluid, precise, a deadly dance honed through years of combat and training. Whitman provided cover fire, his calm demeanor a steadying force amidst the chaos. Rourke's sniper skills neutralized threats from afar, his sharp eyes piercing the night. Despite the overwhelming odds, they succeeded. The asset was secured, the Silent Bloom's plans were unraveling, but victory came at a cost. Layla sustained a deep wound to her left shoulder, the bullet narrowly missing arteries. The pain was searing, but she refused to slow. The mission was paramount. Back at base as she underwent treatment, Layla's thoughts churned. The Silent Bloom was wounded, but not dead. Its final moves were unpredictable, its motives still shrouded in mystery. As she recovered, Layla began to piece together the true extent of the conspiracy. It was not merely about power or espionage, it was about control. Control of information, influence, and the future itself. Her resolve hardened. She would not let the Silent Bloom dictate the fate of her team, her country, or herself. The battle was far from over, but Layla Mendez was ready. Most of the days following the fierce raid were spent with Layla confined to a medical bed, every pulse of pain from her left shoulder a stark reminder that the fight was far from over. The blood seeping through her bandages was a testament to the cost of victory, but also a symbol of her relentless spirit. Each scar etched into her flesh told a story of sacrifice, a silent vow to never relent. During her recovery, Layla refused to surrender for a moment to idleness. She delved deeper into the tangled web of suspects linked to the Silent Bloom. Scouring new intelligence reports, she meticulously cross-referenced internal communications, analyzing every data packet for the faintest hint of betrayal. Her enhanced tactical suit's neural interface relentlessly passed behavioral algorithms, flagging anomalies with chilling precision. Whitman and Rourke became her indispensable allies, not just for their technical expertise, but as pillars of emotional support amidst the growing storm of suspicion. Together, they sifted through hundreds of hours of encrypted audio, video, and metadata, assembling a mosaic that slowly revealed the vast scope of the conspiracy. Every minor lead was a crucial thread in the tapestry of deception they sought to unravel. Yet pressure mounted exponentially. Former comrades now masked themselves behind layers of secrecy, their eyes evasive, their answers vague. The fragile trust that once held Echo 9 together cracked under the strain of paranoia. Loneliness threatened to consume Layla, but that very isolation steeled her resolve. One afternoon, a terse message from Captain Tran broke the uneasy calm. Her voice was strained, burdened by the gravity of unfolding events. "We've uncovered a new hotbed of activity," she confided. "A clandestine high-level meeting is scheduled for tonight. This could be the linchpin in the Silent Bloom's operation." Without hesitation, Layla mobilized, coordinating with Whitman and Rourke to infiltrate the site. They knew this mission transcended typical espionage. It was a defining moment that could shift the balance of power. Under the cloak of a moonless night, the trio navigated a maze of subterranean service tunnels beneath the compound's perimeter. Their steps were deliberate and silent, evading every surveillance camera and sensor. Layla's suit emitted subtle electromagnetic pulses, jamming detection grids and creating safe corridors through the digital net. Approaching the meeting chamber, Whitman swiftly deployed a cutting-edge listening device, transmitting encrypted audio and visual feeds to their mobile command unit. Time seemed suspended as they absorbed the hushed voices within. What they heard froze the blood in Layla's veins. Senior officers, trusted and revered, plotted to fracture command structures, scatter response units, and execute a sophisticated coup designed to seize control from within. The word spoke of deception so deep it threatened to unravel the very foundation of their cause. Worse still, some conspirators were old allies once bound by loyalty and honor. The betrayal was systemic, meticulously orchestrated over months, perhaps years. When the meeting adjourned, Layla received orders from Tran to prepare for a sweeping operation to purge the traitors and restore order. Yet, beneath the mission's urgency lay a sobering truth. The battlefield was now as much psychological and political as it was tactical. Returning to base, Layla sensed the invisible eyes that tracked her movements, whispers, and doubts, swirling through the ranks like a gathering storm. Days blurred into relentless action. Investigations deepened. Security protocols tightened. Alliances were tested and retested. The Silent Bloom's tendrils reached far beyond Echo 9, infiltrating critical commands and reshaping the very architecture of power. Layla's gear was upgraded with the latest stealth and cyber defense tech, transforming the once mocked pink accents into symbols of adaptive innovation, a fusion of lethality and style that blurred lines between presence and invisibility. One encrypted message arrived late one evening, the words simple yet profound: "The garden is poisoned. Only the true orchid survives." The phrase was a call to arms and a warning, crystallizing the stakes at hand. In the following weeks, Layla orchestrated a series of high-risk covert missions aimed at dismantling the Silent Bloom's operational core. The team navigated hostile terrain, intercepting communications, turning insiders into informants, and dismantling the web of deceit thread by thread. Layla's leadership was pivotal. Her strategic insight and unwavering resolve rekindled hope in a team battered by suspicion. She inspired them not merely to survive, but to reclaim their honor. Yet the deeper they penetrated, the more ambiguous their reality became. Friends became suspects, trusted operations were compromised, the conspiracy's roots ran deeper than imagined. One mission tested them all. Layla, Whitman, and Rourke were tasked with extracting a high-value informant, key to exposing the Silent Bloom's leadership. Infiltrating a heavily guarded compound under the veil of night, they encountered a carefully laid ambush. The enemy was ready. Gunfire erupted violently, but Layla moved with lethal grace, calculated and swift. Whitman's steady cover fire and Rourke's precise sniper strikes cleared a path through the chaos. Against overwhelming odds, they secured the target and exfiltrated successfully. The cost was high. Layla sustained a grave wound to her left shoulder, pain searing but never halting her momentum. Back at base, as medics stabilized her injury, her mind churned. The Silent Bloom was wounded but not broken. Its final moves were unpredictable, and its motives remained shrouded. Her determination only deepened. This war was far from over. Layla Mendez was ready. The weeks after the ambush felt like navigating a labyrinth without a map. Echo 9 was a fractured shadow of its former self, each member carrying invisible wounds deeper than any bullet could inflict. Layla moved with purpose through the corridors, her presence a silent command for strength and resilience. Despite the physical pain from her shoulder, her mind was sharper than ever, focused on unmasking the Silent Bloom's remaining threats. The unit's atmosphere was taut with unspoken fears. Every glance carried suspicion, every whisper hinted at betrayal. Yet, amid the cracks, a fragile hope took root, a belief that with enough courage and resolve, they could reclaim their honor and dismantle the rot within. Layla leaned heavily on Whitman and Rourke, whose steadfast loyalty and complementary skills made them indispensable. Their bond was no longer merely professional, it was forged in shared trials and unyielding determination. Together, they sifted through layers of compromised data, piecing together a map of Silent Bloom's extensive network. A network far wider and more insidious than they had imagined. One evening, as dusk painted the sky with bruised purples and reds, Layla sat in the command center reviewing a fresh intelligence report. It revealed a planned meeting between several high-ranking officers linked to the Silent Bloom at a remote location outside the base. This could be the decisive strike they needed. The team devised a meticulous plan to intercept and gather irrefutable evidence. Every detail was accounted for: surveillance drones, cyber intrusion teams, rapid response units, all coordinated with precision. The operation was to be swift and surgical, leaving no room for error. As night blanketed the terrain, Layla and her team infiltrated the meeting site under the cover of darkness. Her adaptive tactical suit shifted hues to mirror the moonlight, rendering her almost invisible. The atmosphere was thick with tension, every shadow a potential threat. Hidden cameras and microphones captured every word spoken within the meeting, revealing plans to destabilize key command positions and manipulate intelligence flows to cripple Echo 9's operations permanently. The chilling truth emerged. Silent Bloom's reach extended into allied forces, a complex web of deceit designed to manipulate and control from behind the scenes. Extracting themselves without detection was a harrowing challenge. A sudden patrol forced Layla into a desperate escape through narrow ravines, relying on her agility and keen instincts. Whitman's suppressive fire and Rourke's sharpshooting ensured their path remained clear. Back at base, the evidence was undeniable. Arrests were made, security tightened, and the Silent Bloom's influence began to unravel. Yet, victory felt bittersweet. Trust once broken was difficult to restore. Layla reflected on the scars borne by her team, physical and emotional. She understood now that true strength was not just in combat skill, but in resilience and unity forged through adversity. Her shoulder healed slowly, a reminder of the cost of leadership. The pink accents on her gear, once mocked, now symbolized innovation, defiance, and survival. In quiet moments she pondered the orchid, their emblem, its beauty intertwined with fragility and resilience, just like Echo 9. The battle was won, but the war for their soul continued. Layla Mendez stood ready to lead, a true orchid blossoming amidst the bloodshed. The first light of dawn filtered softly through the blinds as Layla awoke, her body aching but her mind sharp with purpose. The pain in her left shoulder was a constant reminder of the battle still raging both outside and within. The Silent Bloom had been wounded, its grip loosened, but the source of its venom, the heart of its conspiracy, remained hidden in the shadows. This day would mark a turning point, a reckoning for Echo 9 and for Layla herself. She moved with deliberate efficiency, donning her tactical suit, which hummed quietly with adaptive technology. The pink accents, once derided as frivolous, now shimmered with a lethal elegance, a symbol of her resilience and ingenuity. Arriving at the command center, she found Captain Tran, Whitman, and Rourke waiting, their faces taut with resolve. The room was charged with tension, the weight of impending action pressing down on every breath. Tran did not waste words. Layla, intelligence has pinpointed the Silent Bloom's leadership to a fortified compound deep within hostile territory. This is where we end it. Layla nodded, her eyes steady. Are we ready for this? We have the resources, the intel, and the element of surprise, Whitman replied. But it will not be easy. The defenses are sophisticated, and the enemy expects resistance. Rourke added, we're the last line. Failure is not an option. With plans laid bare and roles assigned, the team prepared for infiltration. Under the cloak of night, they were inserted miles from the compound by silent rotorcraft. The terrain was unforgiving, jagged rocks and shifting sands that concealed danger as effectively as the enemy's own camouflage. Each step taken was a testament to discipline and training. Their movements were synchronized whispers in the darkness. Layla's suit adjusted seamlessly to the environment, rose-pink hues melting into moonlit shadows. Her senses were heightened. Neural interfaces fed real-time data, detecting threats, analyzing terrain, and coordinating with teammates. The team moved like phantoms, evading sensor arrays with electronic countermeasures and exploiting blind spots. The compound loomed ahead, a fortress of steel and glass, bristling with defenses designed to repel the most determined attackers. Inside, the Silent Bloom's leaders convened, unaware their sanctuary was breached. Layla led the silent assault, her team neutralizing sentries with swift precision. Their advance through dim corridors was methodical, every corner scanned, every door breached with practiced calm. The mission was clear: capture or eliminate the core conspirators and retrieve the intelligence that would finally dismantle the network. The confrontation unfolded swiftly. The conspirators, caught off guard, were surrounded in a chamber glowing with the harsh light of monitors and servers. Layla's voice was calm but commanding as she read the charges: betrayal, espionage, and endangerment of national security. Some of the accused faltered, others showed defiant silence, but none escaped the weight of their guilt. Whitman secured critical data drives while Rourke maintained the perimeter, vigilant for reinforcements. As they gathered the evidence, alarms blared. A sudden counterattack. The Silent Bloom had contingency plans, and the compound erupted into chaos. Gunfire echoed through the halls as waves of enemy operatives surged to repel the invaders. Layla's pain surged as her wounded shoulder burned, but she pressed on with relentless determination, coordinating their defense and orchestrating a calculated withdrawal. Whitman's steady cover fire and Rourke's lethal precision created a corridor of safety. Layla's movements were a blend of instinct and training, every shot, every maneuver deliberate, each step bringing them closer to extraction. They fought with the desperation of those who knew the stakes. Failure would mean the survival of a deadly conspiracy. Emerging into the night, the team sprinted toward the extraction zone where helicopters waited amid swirling dust and distant gunfire. As the blades roared to life, Layla allowed herself a fleeting breath of relief, the adrenaline ebbing, but the weight of their mission still pressing heavily on her heart. Back at base, debriefings revealed the full extent of the operation's success. The evidence was undeniable. Arrests followed swiftly. The Silent Bloom's web unraveled, but the scars it left would linger. Trust, shattered into countless fractures, would require time and resolve to heal. Layla reflected on the journey, the betrayals endured, the battles fought, and the sacrifices made. The pink accents on her gear, once a target of mockery, had transformed into emblems of innovation and strength. The orchid, their unit's symbol, represented not just beauty but resilience and rebirth through adversity. Though the mission had ended, Layla understood that their struggle was far from finished. The war for the soul of Echo 9 continued, and with it came a promise to protect, to lead, and to never allow darkness to take root again. With steady resolve, Layla Mendez stood ready, an orchid blossoming defiantly amidst the blood and shadows. The air was thick with tension as Layla walked through the corridors of the base, the weight of recent victories and looming challenges pressing heavily on her shoulders. The aftermath of the Silent Bloom's fall had left Echo 9 scarred but determined, yet shadows from the past began to stir, ghosts that refused to remain buried. Her thoughts drifted to the origins of the conspiracy, to faces long forgotten, and to secrets that some still wished to keep hidden. The fight to restore trust was proving as perilous as any firefight, fraught with deception, alliances tested, and wounds yet to heal. Captain Tran summoned Layla to a secure briefing room where an encrypted message awaited, a relic from a mission years before, resurfacing at a time when it mattered most. This, Tran began, sliding a datapad across the table, contains information about an operative codenamed Orchid. Details were redacted back then, but new intel suggests a connection to the current betrayal. Layla's pulse quickened. The codename Orchid was not unfamiliar. It was a ghost from her past, a symbol entwined with her own identity and the battles she had fought alone in shadowed lands. Someone wants to rewrite history, Layla said, eyes scanning the files, to obscure truths that could expose more than just the silent bloom. Days bled into nights as Layla plunged into investigation. She revisited old contacts, traced forgotten leads, and uncovered discrepancies in classified archives. What she found was unsettling. A hidden network that predated the Silent Bloom, connected to covert operations that blurred lines between ally and adversary. Her journey led her to a secluded safe house on the outskirts of a foreign city, a place she once called refuge. The walls bore faded marks of past struggles, and the air was thick with memories. Here she met with an old ally, Sophia Reyes, a former intelligence analyst turned rogue who possessed knowledge that could tip the scales. "Sophia," Layla greeted cautiously, "why surface now?" Sophia's eyes reflected weariness and urgency. "Because the past is catching up, and the forces behind the betrayal are more powerful than you realize. They're willing to burn everything to silence the truth." Together, they pieced together fragments of a decades-old conspiracy, one that wove through global intelligence agencies, clandestine operations, and the shadows of geopolitical chess games. Back at Echo-9, tension simmered beneath the surface. The team grappled with fractures in leadership, loyalties questioned, and the burden of secrets too dangerous to share openly. Layla's position was both a beacon and a target, her every move scrutinized, her past weaponized by enemies seeking to undermine her credibility. During a strategic meeting, she faced veiled accusations and cold stares. The wounds from betrayal reopened as whispers circulated. Was Layla truly trustworthy, or a pawn in a larger game? Whitman stood by her side, his steady presence a shield against growing isolation. "We know her, we trust her," he affirmed, silencing doubt with quiet conviction. The battle expanded beyond the physical realm. Cyber warfare escalated, with attacks targeting communication networks and classified data. Layla's team scrambled to defend their digital frontiers, countering hacking attempts with cutting-edge defenses and countermeasures. In the midst of chaos, Layla discovered a chilling pattern. Enemy cyber operatives were using stolen identities, mimicking their own tactics and planting false intelligence to sow discord. It was psychological warfare on a grand scale, designed to fracture trust and destabilize Echo-9 from within. Determined to strike back, Layla orchestrated a counter-offensive, a covert cyber operation aimed at exposing and dismantling the enemy's digital infrastructure. Working alongside Whitman's communications unit and Rourke's surveillance teams, they launched a multi-layered assault, deploying adaptive viruses and encryption breakers that infiltrated the enemy's systems. The operation culminated in a high-stakes digital duel where every second counted and mistakes could cost lives. Meanwhile, physical threats loomed. Silent assassins and mercenaries linked to the conspiracy attempted to infiltrate Echo-9's perimeter, forcing heightened security and constant vigilance. Layla's team conducted patrols and sweeps, uncovering caches of weapons and encrypted devices designed to cripple their operations. Each encounter was a stark reminder that the enemy was ruthless and unrelenting. Amid the turmoil, Layla wrestled with personal demons, memories of past missions, sacrifices made, and the loneliness of leadership. She found solace in brief moments of connection with Whitman, whose unwavering support was a rare comfort, and Rourke, whose quiet strength anchored the team. Together they forged a bond that transcended duty, becoming a family amidst the chaos. As the layers of the conspiracy peeled away, Layla faced a chilling revelation. A figure from her past, presumed dead, was alive and pulling strings behind the scenes. The confrontation was inevitable. The shadows of the past had returned, darker and more dangerous than ever. And Layla Mendez was ready to face them head-on. The revelation that a presumed dead figure from Layla's past was orchestrating chaos from the shadows sent a ripple of cold dread through Echo 9. This adversary, known only as Cypher, was a ghost with a vendetta, an enemy who understood Layla intimately and exploited her every vulnerability. Cypher's return was not merely a threat to the mission, but a personal reckoning. Layla gathered her closest allies in a secure chamber. The weight of the secret hung heavy, but determination shone in their eyes. Cypher's tactics are psychological as much as physical. We must anticipate manipulation and never lose sight of our purpose, she warned. Whitman nodded. We fight not just for survival, but for the soul of this team. The ensuing days were a crucible of tension. Echo 9 operated under heightened alert, every movement shadowed by suspicion. Cypher's influence infiltrated communication lines, planting false orders and sowing dissent. The team's cohesion was tested to its limits, but Layla's leadership proved the linchpin holding them together. Cyber warfare escalated as Cypher launched relentless attacks against their networks. Layla, Whitman and Rourke coordinated a counter-offensive, exploiting weaknesses in Cypher's digital fortress. The battle unfolded in streams of code and encrypted signals, a silent war where a single misstep could mean disaster. Simultaneously, physical threats surged. Cypher's operatives attempted multiple infiltrations, employing assassins skilled in stealth and subterfuge. Layla's tactical expertise and the team's vigilance thwarted each attempt, but the cost was evident in the mounting exhaustion and fraying nerves. In moments of rare respite, Layla confronted her own doubts. The ghosts of past failures whispered relentlessly, but the trust of her team and the mission's stakes steeled her resolve. Conversations with Whitman and Rourke provided clarity and strength, reinforcing bonds forged in fire. The final confrontation was orchestrated with precision. Intelligence pinpointed Cypher's hideout, a fortified compound guarded by mercenaries and advanced defenses. Layla's team planned a simultaneous cyber and physical strike, aiming to capture Cypher and sever the conspiracy's last ties. The operation was harrowing. Navigating minefields of deception and traps, Echo 9 infiltrated the compound under the cover of darkness. Layla led the charge, her tactical suit blending seamlessly with shadows. Gunfire erupted in a deadly ballet as they engaged Cypher's forces, every move choreographed by survival instincts and training. Amid the chaos, Layla confronted Cypher face to face. Words were weapons as much as bullets. Cypher's cold smile masked years of bitterness and vendetta, but Layla's unwavering gaze betrayed no fear. The battle was as much mental as physical, a test of wills. With the team's coordinated efforts, Cypher was finally subdued. Evidence confiscated exposed the full extent of the conspiracy, clearing the path for Echo 9 to rebuild and move forward. As dawn broke over the horizon, Layla stood with her team, battered but unbroken. The shadows of the past had been confronted and cast out, but the scars they left served as reminders of resilience and sacrifice. Echo 9 was reborn, not just as a unit, but as a family forged in adversity. Layla Mendez, the orchid that thrived amid the blood and shadows, was ready for whatever challenges awaited next. The aftermath of Cypher's defeat brought a fragile calm over Echo 9. The team was bruised but not broken, scars both visible and hidden marking their bodies and spirits. Layla felt the heavy burden of leadership more keenly than ever, the responsibility not only to protect her unit, but to rebuild the trust that had been fractured by betrayal. The base hummed with activity, a blend of repair and renewal. Walls once scarred by conflict were repainted, equipment upgraded, and protocols rewritten. Yet, beneath the surface, the echoes of suspicion lingered. Some wounds healed slowly, some mistrust proved stubborn. Layla took time to meet with each team member, listening without judgment, offering reassurance. Her empathy became a beacon, guiding them through uncertainty. Whitman and Rourke stood unwavering at her side, pillars of strength and loyalty. The command center became a hive of strategic planning. Intelligence indicated new threats emerging, smaller cells inspired by the silent bloom, radical factions exploiting the chaos left behind. Layla's resolve hardened. The fight for peace was ongoing, requiring vigilance and adaptability. New recruits arrived, their faces fresh but their eyes wary. Echo 9 was no longer just a unit, it was a legacy to be carried forward. Layla spearheaded an intense training regimen, blending hard-earned lessons with cutting-edge tactics and technology. The pink accents on their gear became symbols of resilience and innovation. Amid this rebuilding, Layla received unexpected news: an invitation to attend a high-level coalition summit. Representatives from allied nations were gathering to forge new security agreements and share intelligence on emerging global threats. The summit was both an opportunity and a challenge. Layla was aware of political undercurrents and hidden agendas. Her presence symbolized progress, the inclusion of women in elite operations, and the triumph over internal betrayal. Arriving at the summit's imposing venue, Layla was met with a mixture of respect and veiled skepticism. Diplomats and military leaders sized her up, some impressed, others cautious. Throughout intense negotiations and discussions, Layla demonstrated not only tactical acumen but diplomatic skill. She navigated delicate conversations, built alliances, and fostered cooperation. Her authenticity and determination broke through barriers, inspiring trust. However, beneath the surface, new threats loomed. Layla uncovered subtle attempts to undermine the coalition. Disinformation campaigns and covert sabotage designed to fracture unity. With Whitman's cyber intelligence team, she traced the source of the attacks to a shadowy group seeking to destabilize international security. The battle lines extended beyond the battlefield, reaching into cyberspace and political arenas. Layla's team coordinated with international partners to counter these threats. They launched coordinated cyber defenses and shared real-time intelligence, showcasing the power of collaboration. Meanwhile, physical security was heightened. Echo 9 deployed specialized teams to protect key assets and personnel, thwarting assassination attempts and espionage. Throughout the summit, Layla balanced diplomacy with action. She forged unexpected partnerships, breaking down long-standing mistrust between nations. Her leadership was a catalyst for change, demonstrating that strength and empathy could coexist. As the summit concluded, agreements were signed and new frameworks were established. The world was watching, hopeful for a safer future. Returning home, Layla found renewed purpose. Echo 9 was not only a fighting force but a symbol of resilience and unity in a fractured world. She embraced the challenges ahead, aware that peace was fragile and vigilance eternal. With her team united and the orchid emblem shining brighter than ever, Layla Mendez prepared to face the next chapter, undaunted, unyielding, and ready. The days following the coalition summit brought a sense of cautious optimism to Echo 9, but Layla knew better than to let her guard down. The world beyond their base was volatile, filled with shifting alliances and hidden threats. The battles fought within corridors of power could be just as deadly as those on any battlefield. Layla spent long hours in the command center, reviewing intelligence reports, coordinating with allied forces, and planning strategic operations. Her leadership had become a beacon for her team and for the wider community of special operations, a symbol of resilience and adaptability. Yet, beneath the surface, fractures began to appear within Echo 9. The scars left by betrayal were slow to heal, and some members struggled with the weight of past mistrust. New recruits brought fresh energy but also unfamiliar dynamics, challenging the cohesion Layla had fought to rebuild. Whitman and Rourke remained her closest confidants, their unwavering support a constant in the swirling chaos. Together they worked tirelessly to nurture trust and unity, knowing that strength depended on the bonds between them. Meanwhile, intelligence indicated that remnants of the Silent Bloom were regrouping, forming loose alliances with other radical factions. These groups sought to exploit global instability, spreading chaos through acts of terrorism and cyber warfare. Layla ordered heightened surveillance and rapid response protocols. Echo 9's elite teams conducted targeted operations to disrupt these cells, navigating complex political landscapes and hostile environments. The team's pink-accented gear, once a subject of ridicule, now represented cutting-edge technology and adaptability. Each mission honed their skills and tightened their bonds. However, the enemies they faced were evolving. Cypher's shadowy network, though fragmented, remained a potent force. The digital battlefield became a war of shadows and deception, with encrypted communications, misinformation campaigns, and covert cyber attacks. Layla spearheaded a joint cyber defense initiative, collaborating with allied nations and private sector experts. The initiative was unprecedented in scope, aiming to safeguard critical infrastructure and thwart malicious actors. Whitman's expertise in cyber operations was invaluable. His team developed sophisticated countermeasures and launched proactive strikes against hostile networks. Rourke provided tactical support, ensuring physical security during cyber operations. As Echo 9 expanded its reach and influence, Layla faced new challenges. Political pressures mounted and scrutiny from higher command intensified. Some questioned the unit's unorthodox methods and the symbolism of the pink gear. Layla confronted these doubts with quiet confidence. She believed in the power of innovation and diversity, in breaking molds to adapt to new threats. Her unwavering conviction inspired her team and gradually shifted perceptions within the military hierarchy. Amid this turbulence, Layla received an unexpected message, a coded invitation to a clandestine meeting with an enigmatic figure known only as the Architect. The Architect was rumored to be a mastermind behind numerous covert operations, a puppeteer with vast reach and influence. Layla knew this meeting could unlock secrets vital to dismantling the remaining threats, or could be a trap designed to expose her vulnerabilities. With cautious determination, she prepared to engage, aware that the line between ally and adversary was often blurred. The meeting took place in a remote location, shrouded in secrecy. Layla arrived under the cover of darkness, her suit's adaptive camouflage blending seamlessly with the environment. The Architect's identity remained hidden behind layers of encryption and obfuscation communicated through encrypted channels and veiled messages. Their conversation was a delicate dance of information and strategy, each probing the other's intentions. Layla learned that the Architect held critical intelligence on emerging threats and was willing to collaborate, but at a price. The partnership was uneasy, built on mutual necessity rather than trust. Returning to base, Layla reflected on the fragile alliances forming in the shadows. The war they fought was no longer solely against visible enemies, but against the complex interplay of power, deception, and ambition. She resolved to navigate this labyrinth with vigilance and wisdom, guided by the principles that had carried her through countless trials. The following weeks were a whirlwind of coordinated operations, intelligence sharing, and strategic planning. Echo 9's influence grew, becoming a pivotal force in the global security landscape. Yet, challenges persisted, internal tensions flared, and the psychological toll on the team deepened. Layla prioritized mental health and resilience training, fostering an environment where vulnerability was met with support and strength was built collectively. Amidst these efforts, an urgent alert shattered the fragile calm. A high-value target linked to the Silent Bloom was spotted in a volatile region. The mission to capture or neutralize this target was fraught with danger, but essential to crippling the remnants of the conspiracy. Layla led the operation personally. Her tactical expertise and leadership were critical to its success. The team infiltrated hostile territory under the veil of night, navigating treacherous landscapes and evading enemy patrols. Layla's suit provided real-time data and adaptive camouflage, enhancing their stealth and survivability. The operation unfolded with precision, each member executing their role flawlessly. Upon locating the target, a tense standoff ensued, negotiations failed, and a brief but fierce engagement erupted. Layla's command decisions and tactical acumen turned the tide, leading to the target's capture with minimal casualties. The success bolstered morale and further weakened the Silent Bloom's influence. Back at base, debriefings revealed the operation's broader implications. Intelligence gathered uncovered links to larger networks and potential future threats. Layla and her team prepared for the long road ahead, aware that vigilance was the price of peace. In quiet moments, Layla contemplated the journey, the battles fought, the allies gained, and the shadows yet to confront. The orchid emblem on her gear shimmered with renewed significance, a testament to endurance, transformation, and hope. With steadfast resolve, Layla Mendez and Echo-9 faced the future. Undaunted, united, and unbreakable, the fragile calm that had settled over Echo-9 was a mere veil, masking the turbulent forces gathering beyond their walls. Layla Mendez understood that every victory, no matter how hard won, invited new challenges and fresh dangers. Intelligence reports from across the globe painted a grim portrait of escalating conflict, fragmented factions realigning, shadowy alliances forging in the dark, and long-dormant threats awakening with renewed vigor. The battlefield had expanded far beyond traditional fronts. It was now a sprawling arena of influence, covert operations, and cyber warfare where the lines between friend and foe blurred into indistinction. Layla stood in the heart of the command center, eyes locked on the cascade of encrypted data flowing across multiple monitors. Her team worked tirelessly alongside her. Whitman's cyber unit hunted for digital anomalies and potential breaches, while Rourke's reconnaissance drones scanned volatile regions for signs of hostile movements. Each new piece of information was a thread woven into an intricate and deadly tapestry, one that Layla had to unravel before the storm fully broke. The pressure was immense, the stakes higher than ever, but she remained the calm in the eye of the chaos. Then came the directive from High Command that changed everything. Echo-9 was tasked to lead a coalition task force in a preemptive strike against a suspected arms cache, deeply linked to the remaining factions of the Silent Bloom. The mission was fraught with risk, political sensitivities ran high, and the operational parameters left little margin for error. The very fabric of global alliances depended on their success or failure. Layla accepted this burden with unwavering resolve. She understood the magnitude of what was asked. This was more than a tactical operation. It was a statement of strength and unity in a fractured world. The planning phase consumed the team, involving detailed intelligence fusion, multi-domain coordination, and the integration of new technologies. Each scenario was simulated with relentless rigor to prepare for the unpredictable. The pink tactical gear that had once drawn skeptical glances had become a symbol of their cutting-edge capabilities, blending innovation with experience. Training sessions intensified, Layla emphasized not only physical preparedness but mental resilience, knowing that adaptability and psychological fortitude would be as crucial as marksmanship and tactics. Team cohesion was fortified through shared trials as every member pushed beyond limits, their collective purpose binding them tighter. Deployment day dawned beneath a sky heavy with grey clouds, an ominous reflection of the gathering storm. The coalition forces moved silently, shadows slipping through hostile terrain with precision and stealth. Layla led with a balance of assertiveness and calm calculation, aware that their every move was watched and every misstep exploited. The target was a sprawling underground complex, fortified with layers of defenses and a web of security systems. As they approached, unexpected resistance erupted. The enemy was not only prepared, but entrenched, wielding advanced weaponry and using the labyrinthine tunnels to their advantage. The battle ignited with brutal intensity, echoing through the underground chambers and above in the rocky terrain. Echo 9 executed a flawless blend of coordinated strikes and adaptive tactics, turning the chaos to their advantage. Layla's swift decisions in the thick of combat guided her team through ambushes and traps, cutting down foes with surgical precision. The fight was relentless, each second a test of endurance and willpower. Amidst the firefight, Layla detected a concealed command hub coordinating enemy operations, a nerve center whose capture was vital to dismantling the opposition's cohesion. Together with Whitman's cyber expertise and Rourke's tactical acumen, she led a small infiltration team through tight corridors, laced with sensors and guarded by elite troops. Inside, they uncovered vast caches of weapons, encrypted communications, and detailed plans outlining further destabilization efforts across multiple regions. The intelligence seized was invaluable, reshaping strategic priorities and exposing hidden networks. Yet victory bore a bitter edge. Echo 9 sustained casualties and injuries, a solemn reminder of the mission's peril and cost. Back at base, debriefings dissected every moment of the operation. The data collected fueled renewed efforts to fortify defenses and refine tactics. Layla's leadership was acknowledged as pivotal, but she remained humble, keenly aware that this battle was just one among many in an ongoing war. In the quiet that followed, Layla allowed herself to reflect. The orchid emblem on her gear shimmered, a symbol of growth through adversity and strength forged in the crucible of conflict. She recognized that peace was always fleeting, a momentary pause before the next challenge. With her team united and resolve unwavering, Layla Mendez prepared to face the rising storm, undaunted, unyielding, and ready to lead Echo 9 into whatever darkness awaited. The silence in the command center was thick, almost suffocating. Layla sat alone, the glow of the monitors casting faint shadows on her face. The weight of the recent operations bore heavily on her. Victories won, friends lost, and an enemy that seemed to morph with every battle. Yet her resolve was steel. She was the last orchid standing, a symbol of resilience amid chaos. Weeks had passed since the successful strike against the underground compound. Echo 9 was rebuilding, rearming, and refocusing. But whispers of unrest reached Layla's ears, rumors of a new faction rising, one more insidious and deadly than anything they had faced before. Layla's instincts told her that this was no ordinary threat. It was the culmination of all the shadows they had chased, the final reckoning. The last orchid was about to bloom, and with it, the fate of Echo 9 would be decided. Her team gathered around her, faces marked by exhaustion but eyes burning with determination. Whitman's calm voice cut through the tension. Intel suggests this new faction operates globally, with cells embedded in key strategic locations. Their goal is control through chaos and manipulation. Rourke nodded grimly. They've studied us, adapted to our tactics. This won't be a simple fight. Layla stood, her presence commanding attention. Then we adapt. We evolve. We become the storm they fear. Planning began immediately. Echo 9 coordinated with international partners, pooling resources and intelligence. The operation to dismantle this new threat would require unprecedented cooperation and precision. Layla worked tirelessly, overseeing every detail, from cyber warfare units probing enemy networks to special ops teams training for rapid deployment. The pink tactical gear, once an anomaly, had become an emblem recognized worldwide. As the days grew shorter and tension mounted, Layla found herself reflecting on her journey. The battles, the betrayals, the sacrifices, all led to this moment. Her mind drifted to the orchid, fragile yet fiercely resilient. It symbolized not just survival but transformation, beauty born from adversity. She was ready to face whatever came next for herself and for her team. The operation was launched under the cover of darkness. Echo 9 moved like ghosts, striking simultaneously across multiple continents. The coordination was flawless, the precision surgical. Layla led the central strike team, penetrating deep into the heart of the enemy's stronghold. The compound was a fortress, guarded by fanatics and mercenaries armed with the latest technology. The battle was brutal. Gunfire echoed through narrow corridors, explosions rocked the foundation, and every step forward was paid for in blood and sweat. Layla's tactical acumen guided her team through the chaos. Her pink armor glinted defiantly in the dim light, a beacon of hope amid destruction. Inside the command center, Layla confronted the faction's leader, a shadowy figure cloaked in mystery. The exchange was terse, a clash of wills as old as time. The leader revealed the true extent of their plans, a web of influence stretching into governments, corporations, and intelligence agencies. Layla's eyes narrowed. You underestimate the strength of the orchid. With coordinated strikes, Echo 9 dismantled the faction's infrastructure. The leader was captured and their network fractured, but the victory was bittersweet. Losses weighed heavily, and the cost of peace was written in sacrifice. Back at base, Layla addressed her team. We have faced darkness and prevailed, but our fight is never over. We are the last orchid, resilient, adaptive, and unbreakable. Her words were met with solemn nods and quiet determination. In the days that followed, Echo 9 healed and rebuilt. The scars remained, but so did hope. Layla's leadership had transformed the unit, not just in strength but in spirit. The pink gear was no longer a symbol of difference but of unity and innovation. As the sun set on another day, Layla stood watching the horizon, the orchid emblem gleaming on her chest. She knew the future held challenges, but with her team beside her, she was ready. For she was Layla Mendez, the last orchid, steadfast in the storm, unwavering in the fight. The final hours of the operation were a whirlwind of tension and chaos. Echo 9's forces, exhausted but unyielding, pressed deeper into enemy territory. Each step brought them closer to the heart of the conspiracy and to the ultimate test of their resolve. Layla moved like a shadow among her team, coordinating movements, adapting tactics, and inspiring courage. The pink tactical suit that had once been a subject of ridicule now symbolized unbreakable spirit and innovation. Her presence was a rallying point amid the storm. Inside the enemy's stronghold, the clash was fierce and unrelenting. The faction's defenders fought with desperation, their fanaticism fueling brutal resistance. Explosions shook the compound as Echo 9 pressed forward, overcoming traps and ambushes with lethal efficiency. Layla found herself face to face with the faction's elusive leader. The air between them crackled with tension, a battle of wills more than weapons. The leader, cloaked in shadows and arrogance, revealed the sinister depth of their influence. a vast web of corruption stretching through governments, corporations, and intelligence agencies worldwide. You underestimate the power of what you fight, the leader sneered. Our reach is beyond your imagining. Layla's eyes burned with unshakable determination. You underestimate the strength of the orchid. Resilient, adaptive, and unbreakable, we are the storm that will uproot your lies. With swift, coordinated action, Echo 9 dismantled the faction's infrastructure, securing critical intelligence and capturing the leader. The network that had sown chaos and betrayal was shattered, but the victory was not without cost. Losses weighed heavily on the team, a somber reminder of the price of peace. Back at base, Layla addressed her team with quiet pride and solemn resolve. We have faced the darkness and stood strong. We are not just survivors, we are the last orchid blooming brightest in adversity. Our fight is ongoing, but together we are unbreakable. Her words echoed through the room, met with determined nods and quiet affirmations. In the weeks that followed, Echo 9 healed and rebuilt. The scars, both physical and emotional, remained, but so did hope and a renewed sense of purpose. The pink gear was no longer a symbol of difference or defiance, but one of unity, innovation, and strength. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the base, Layla stood watching the fading light. The orchid emblem on her chest shimmered softly, a testament to endurance and transformation. She knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but with her team beside her, she was ready. For she was Layla Mendez, the last orchid, steadfast in the storm, unwavering in the fight, and unyielding in her mission to protect those who could not protect themselves. As the story of Layla Mendez and Echo 9 draws to a close, we are left with a powerful testament to resilience, courage, and the unbreakable spirit that defines true warriors. From the early days of mockery over a pink tactical suit to leading high-stakes missions against shadowy enemies, Layla's journey is a beacon of hope and determination in a world fraught with complexity and danger. Her story reminds us that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it blooms quietly, like an orchid thriving against all odds in the darkest of places. It is a story of transformation, of embracing uniqueness, turning adversity into advantage, and leading with both heart and tactical brilliance. In a world where trust is fragile and betrayal can come from within, Layla's leadership shows us the power of perseverance, teamwork, and innovation. Echo 9's evolution from a fractured unit to a unified force symbolizes the triumph of resilience and adaptation over fear and division. As we close this chapter, we invite you, our viewers, to reflect on the lessons embedded in this tale. What does it mean to face the impossible? How do we transform challenges into strengths? And what role does unity play in overcoming darkness? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Where are you watching Veteran Biker from today? What part of Layla's journey resonated with you the most? Share your reflections and stories in the comments below. Your voices add depth to our shared experience and help build a community united by the love of powerful, true stories. If Layla's story inspired you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We bring you stories that explore the human spirit in all its complexity, stories of courage, justice, and the fight to make a difference. By subscribing, you ensure you never miss a moment of these compelling journeys. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. We appreciate everyone who watches, comments, and shares. Your support fuels our mission to bring heart-stirring stories to light. And remember, the fight for justice, for truth, and for hope is never over. Stay strong, stay curious, and stay tuned for more stories here on Veteran Biker. Until next time, keep the orchid blooming.